Okay, hey everybody, this is Russ, the RowdyDawg. I'm with Steve Perzia and his wife Megan. They're in my inner circle group with Entre Institute in our mastermind group. We meet twice a month, and just a great group of people. We're going to Steve and I are going to put links down on the bottom after this interview, or you'll see them in the link in the bottom to give you guys some places to go to look up Entre Institute. Maybe want to get involved with it, but right now we're going to do an interview about Bitcoin. Everybody's been concerned or just had a lot of questions within my group, which our audience is mainly seniors and 60 and up, and we're all questioning the Bitcoin thing. And we know that Steve, you've been involved with Bitcoin investing since 15 or 16.
Yep, I think
it
was
came out.
2016. Yep.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I brought you on. I saw you guys as Hustling for Excellence, podcast or whatever it was about Bitcoin. And I thought, well, hey, I'm going to bring them on, man. They probably know what they're talking about. So anyway, we're going to have a few questions, and I've gotten some from my father and some of his friends. They're all wanting to know, first question, how does Bitcoin even derive its value? Where does all these people see it as just something in the internet, has no derived value. So we're just that's one big question everybody had. So.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So I'll start off by saying, I'm not a financial advisor, right? I'm just a guy who's invested in this since 2016, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then kind of moved on to a bunch of other coins.
Now, let me say that Steve also, you work for the Navy and
Yep.
You're Army Reserve.
Yep. So I work full time for the Navy, building databases and database management. Yeah. And then also part time, I'm an Army Reserve officer where I do contracting. So
you're a pretty technical guy, no computing and.
Yep. Sometimes, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So you're a lot more familiar with technical things, and Bitcoin is pretty technical.
Right. I mean, basically, kind of like you said, right? There's this Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and all these different things kind of get thrown around. But I kind of like to just talk about, cash, right? And the good old dollar. People, I don't think realize, we still do cash for transactions, but so much of that is just, ones and zeros in a computer these days.
Yeah, it's true.
It's all computer code. When they're going to do this bailout package, it's not like they're bringing $800 billion worth of bills out. They're typing that into the computer and saying, hey, okay, we're going to send 100 billion here, 100 billion there, 100 billion here. And that's really how it goes.
Okay.
So a little history.
Go ahead.
A quick little history on Bitcoin, just kind of. So 2008 was when it was really created. There was a white paper that was written by Satoshi Nakamoto. People still don't know who this person is. I mean, there's all kinds of theories out there about, he's from Japan, or he's worked for the CIA, or it's this government created Bitcoin. So it's kind of interesting.
He's not really he's kind of incognito, isn't he?
Yes.
He's not like out in the public. So nobody
right. And he's the largest holder of Bitcoin right now. So that's why people are, there's all these theories about who he is, and maybe he's not a person, maybe it's multiple people, it's a group of people. But anyway, just a little history. And the whole idea of Bitcoin itself is that it's decentralized, it's open source, and it's peer-to-peer. I kind of relate the peer-to-peer pieces. I owe you $10, I come to you, I pay you cash, debts are settled. There's no intermediary like there is when you have to use, we'll say Visa or PayPal. It has to go to somebody else. They take their little fee, and then it goes on. So that's one of the, the advantages that a lot of folks see with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general. The whole idea there's no third party.
So can it be counterfeited? Like money can be counterfeited.
Right. So that was the next point I had. And that's another big piece of it. The idea here is they want no double spending, right? So they're saying it can't be counterfeited. Now, I'm not a person with absolutes, so I'm not saying that, hey, that can't happen, but it really hasn't happened yet. And the whole idea is that it's decentralized, so it's not in one place. So that's a big piece of it. But to your original question about value, So a lot of people see that differently. So a lot of people just feel like the fact that there's only 21 million Bitcoins will ever exist. So as the supply continues to dwindle, there'll be more value. So that's one school of thought. Another is the fact that it could be a store of value now. A lot of folks are moving away from gold and saying, hey, maybe Bitcoin is the new store of value. But it all stems, everything that I've seen and I've read stems from the trust or lack of trust with the way that the monetary situation is handled, not just in our country, but throughout the world. So that's one thing that I think after 2008, when it first came into effect, that's when we obviously had the housing crisis, and people, everything just went down tremendously, and that's when this started to get popular. Now, back then it was just, kind of almost just amongst little internet forums and gamers and things like that. But
didn't it kind of get started in the gaming realm, internet gaming?
Guys would leave their computers on after they were done gaming and they would mine this, and it was very easy back then. It wasn't, you can mine it on your laptop.
That leads to another question.
Sure.
Mining. One of my dad's friends says that his friend has spent a lot of electricity and a lot of power mining, and he's making a lot of money mining, but it's cost him a lot of electricity. What in the world? What is that, mining?
Yeah, so that's a whole nother topic.
Okay.
But we'll say the whole idea of mining, yes, that's one of the debates. It's very intensive with energy. So depending on where you live in the country, it may not be beneficial to mine, but there are parts of the country, I think out in the western part where they have some hydroelectric, they have pretty cheap energy.
Yeah.
So you might be able to do a little bit better out there. I was actually involved in a company where I bought miners and I just kept them at the facility out in Washington. Now during 2018, when Bitcoin was going way down, the facility could not maintain, and they actually ended up in a lawsuit. But
oh boy, so mining is power intensive.
Yes, really? Very power intensive, because just think
the machine. Go ahead.
So please. Computers don't like heat, right? And these things run very hot, so you have to cool them. So it's just not the energy of the computer itself; it's also the energy it takes to cool that building. So you'll see a lot of bigger facilities in some colder places, right? Or places with cheap electricity. So Sweden has them, Russia has them, China has them. So there's, there are some in the United States, but there's also a lot of places that don't want them. So they're putting in like legislation to say, hey, no Bitcoin mining in this state or in this territory because it's not good for the environment. Now, again, I don't have any kind of hard data on that, because hey, every day we say something's bad for the environment. The coal was bad for the environment. This is bad for the environment. But when you step it back a little bit, for me, cow
farts bad for the environment.
Right. So I don't know that for sure. Because there's a lot of people that look at when you look around the world, how each company's looking at it, how this country's looking at it, compared to how Russia's looking at it, compared to how China's looking at it.
Right.
Who knows where we end up? All we know is that there's only so many Bitcoin, and some of those countries are mining it really hard, and we're not. So I don't know where that leads, but what I do know is that yes, you can make some good money on it. It was a lot easier in the beginning because it'd be a guy can have a couple little miners and he'd do okay. But once these companies came involved, and I might have 2 miners in my basement, and then someone else has 20,000 in a huge warehouse, rows and rows of them.
Oh, gotcha.
The scale,
no wonder it's intensive.
Right. The scale they have is just, I can't compete.
I keep hearing that the government is going to get involved in crypto.
Right. And that was on the news.
Regulated or something.
Yep. that's on the news all the time. And you just don't know. Is that true? You see China's going to ban it one day, next day they're not. Then Turkey was banning it. Next day they're not.
It makes you wonder if it would actually be good or bad for it. If you get the government involved, look at how many things they've messed up,
Right. Yep. So
with regulation.
I think there's part of me that feels like, hey, maybe the governments are a little bit fearful because this is something around the whole world. I think back to when Venezuela was having, they always have issues with their money, but a few years ago, they were heavily investing in cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, because
Really,
their dollar was worthless. So
right.
this was for them a store of value.
Economy, right?
Right. And then also around the world, I mean, really, all you need is your phone.
Yeah.
And you can trade Bitcoin. And a lot of the
that leads into another question.
Yeah.
Coinbase. I know we have Coinbase now. That's the publicly traded company where you can buy and sell Bitcoin, or not just Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency in general. And I actually have that app. I've got Ethereum, Uniswap, Bitcoin, and Ava was the other one. And they're doing okay. They're doing pretty good.
All good coins, I would say, right? Kind of a little diversified portfolio. So I'll jump ahead a little because I actually had some notes about that. So Coinbase was also the first one I used. I think they've been around since 2010. So they're probably, I would call them the leader in the industry. And then obviously after their IPO, that was kind of solidified because they raised, I forget how much money they raised, but they raised like a ridiculous amount, right? I mean,
I know their stock, I bought stock in it too. And it just, after I bought it, it jumped up like $100 a share and then settled back out somewhat.
Right. But their raise was ridiculous. I mean, once they did that, they went public, their value was larger than I think JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, guys who've been around for 100 years. Coinbase has been around 10 years. And that just kind of shows you the potential is the way I look at that. So Coinbase is the first one I used because it was really the easiest. It was the first one out there. So I mean, it's a simple process.
Very simple.
Download the app, connect the bank account, see what you want to buy. Either you can type in how many coins or how many dollars you want to spend. Right. Hit buy, and a couple seconds later, hey, it's in your wallet. So
that's what I'd recommend. Yeah, exactly. Recommend to everybody, if you know how to download an app, go to your app store, download Coinbase, and you can connect your bank account. And you can start buying some of the stuff. Now, research wise, I mean, I know you probably use some different websites and things to research your different coins.
So one of the sites I really like, it's free, doesn't cost anything, is coinmarketcap.com. I just find them, it kind of reminded me, I used to use Yahoo Finance for stocks and everything. It's just a really nice site. It's laid out nice. You can kind of search pretty much by any criteria you want.
The big question is, what are you looking for? Like say, Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of these, what are the triggers that would, that would make you want to buy it? Where is it? What do you look for, when you do want to buy one? What's the research that you do?
Right, absolutely. So for me, I kind of look at real world problems. Think about things that just are so inefficient. How could, being on the blockchain help? There's
another question right there. Sorry, blockchain. Tell me what a blockchain is.
Yeah, sure. So let me see. I got a few notes.
I know we're jumping around a little bit.
No problem. I mean, it's fine. It
all leads back to the same thing.
It does. This is an extremely large topic, and it's new for most people. So,
especially the people in my niche, they're all looking for answers and questions. Absolutely. They all have a little extra money. They want to try and jump in, but they don't know how.
So, I mean, the easiest way, when you look at blockchain, there's three pieces to it. It's peer-to-peer. You have a consensus mechanism and the blockchain itself. Now that's just a fancy way to say hash data. Computers it makes it easier to talk in blocks. So in computer language. So that's the fancy way. I heard someone say this, and I wrote it down because I thought it broke it down simply. It said, it's connected computers that reach an agreement over shared data. So again, that's what consent.
That's the blockchain. It's just a bunch of computers that are linked together, usually with a single crypto in that blockchain.
Well, there are multiple blockchains. All these cryptos are built on top of a blockchain. So not getting too far into, but you can have public blockchains, you can have private blockchains. We'd say maybe the Department of Defense, right? They're working on their own blockchains. Obviously, they don't want to share that, so they're going to keep that in-house. Bigger companies have their own blockchains as well. So maybe IBM is working on their own blockchain. Some of the projects I'm looking at, again, so past year, you had the supply chain issues, right? We knew it was, you couldn't get toilet paper, right?
I remember that.
I believe
all too well.
right. So, I mean, I believe the supply chain was broken before that, right? Just based on
Yeah.
the way the world is, you know, it's a global economy. So blockchain, like, hey, what could that do for supply chain? So that's kind of one of the places I look to. So, you know, full disclosure,
Crypto can help with the supply chain of goods because
sure
the money transfer with crypto coin is easier to move through the ether. Or
well, the part of it is just the fact of the tracking mechanism. Once you every transaction is on this ledger, and it's basically what they call immutable. Now, again, I would not say that's 100%.
That's pretty close. Immutable.
Very close. But the idea is it's not immutable, but what it does is allow you to recognize irregularities. So if someone does do something, it makes it much easier to find that error. So if someone was trying to counterfeit it, because there are still coins or blockchains that have been hacked. Some of the smaller ones, when they get started, you know, maybe they're not as developed yet, or their development team isn't as strong. Now, again, so when I do the research, I also look, I don't mess around with too many of what they call altcoins, those really small projects. I'm looking for the ones that are a little bit more established. So when I go to CoinMarketCap, I'm looking in the top 100 coins, really the top 50.
Okay, they have a pretty good volume attached.
Yep. Right. So they have that market cap. Now, again, so a good idea here is, like I said, supply chain. So that's one item.
Yeah.
Other things you can look at is, like, we'll say Ethereum. Everybody knows that Ethereum is a really good coin, and they like the idea of smart contracts, but it's very expensive to do transactions now. So there are other companies that are similar, like Uniswap's one. That's why it's done so well.
Aren't those just exchanges?
Yes.
Where the money is flowing through them and they take a percentage, kind of like the credit card companies.
Right. Yep. I mean, that's probably the easiest way. They call it gas, but same thing. It's the fees on the network, right? Sometimes
which are always going to be there. So it seems like those would be pretty non-volatile, would be pretty steady.
Yeah, some of those, and I think the reason a lot of people like the smart contracts is just because they see potential in every field. So whether it's finance or law, or a lot of people are talking about using it for identity, you know, because there is the thought of you can have things centralized, but then your enemy or your hacker can just focus on that one area all the time. But when it's decentralized, well, which one do I attack? So it makes it a little bit harder in certain ways. So
a little more secure when you don't have everything and all your eggs in one basket.
Right. And that's the way a lot of people feel about it. Now, again, you know, you still have, what's interesting about this field is I can say all this stuff and there can be someone who disagrees completely. But we can still both make money if that's the goal, right? But getting back to your point,
money. Absolutely.
Right. So getting back to your point about, you know, if you had some money to invest.
Yeah.
So I kind of look at problems. So I looked at, you know, supply chain, also looked at healthcare. You know, healthcare is one of the biggest costs is the administrative cost in healthcare. You know, insurance companies don't talk to you have to call somebody for enrollment. You got to call somebody for billing. You got to call somebody for, it's all over.
A lot of red tape. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of red tape.
So there are companies that are trying to say, hey, how do we fix this with blockchain? So that's something else. And what I usually
do. So you're saying a coin could be developed to specialize just in the medical field?
Right. So it's the blockchain they're developing. The coin is how they raise money for their project usually. So they'll do their ICO, their initial coin offering, and that's kind of how they're raising the funds to fund that project typically. So they, you know, they don't have to always go out for.
So would it be helpful if we were to put that link to the place you like to trade your Bitcoin?
Oh yeah. I'll send all that stuff over. There's a couple.
We could probably do a link to the Coinbase.
Yeah.
Put it down in Coinbase Internet. I mean, you get to, you don't have to have a cell phone.
Coinbase is great. You know, like I said, it was the first one I used. It was easy. You can do that from your phone. You can do it from the computer, whatever. And it's just very smooth, and they're good with tax time. So, you know, if you sell, you still have to pay those taxes on the gains, right? Now, a lot of people, obviously, there's a lot of people who aren't selling, they're holding long term. I get it. But Coinbase is nice because they can provide those forms, and, you know, it's pretty smooth and seamless. They're really, I feel like they're ahead of a lot of these other companies. So
I'm looking at Coinbase here, No, it's backwards. I don't know how to turn it around, but very simple program. Tie in your credit card. You can do the same thing on your desktop computer. Most of the guys, the older fellas, are going to have desktops. They wouldn't want to, do things in their cell phones, but some might. I did. So
yeah, I mean, I think it might be a little intimidating at first, but once you see how easy it actually is, you're like, man, this is,
So the one thing what's the one thing that you look for in a good investment? At one trigger or one marker that you see in a coin, in a crypto currency that you like, that you will cause you to invest? Is there one specific thing that guys can look for, some kind of marker that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
A trend or something.
Right. I mean, I guess it depends for me personally, I'm looking at a lot of this crypto stuff the way I looked at, I was probably a little younger back then, but the internet time frame.
Okay.
I'm kind of looking at this as holding this for a while. This is like internet 3.0. And so I'm looking at those projects that, like I said, really have an impact over those big industries. So that's kind of why I looked at supply chain. I mean, we all know it's a global economy. So I felt supply chain's a good place to look. I looked at healthcare. I also looked at gaming. I got kids and they're always gaming. So I see how much money spent on gaming. So that was another industry. What I look for is, who are those traditional companies that are getting into these new projects? So an example of company called Engine, coin called Engine, right? Full disclosure, I own it. But again, I think it's Microsoft is involved, right? So when I see a company like Microsoft or Samsung get involved, I'm like, that's where I want to be, right?
If they're getting involved, then there's got to be something to it. Yeah.
So those are the types of
like the Elon Musk guy. Elon Musk went out and bought, $1 billion worth of Bitcoin or something, and then everybody jumped in,
Absolutely. And so, kind of reading that news about, okay, what's Walmart doing, right? What are they getting into? Because, hey,
the website you like, does it have this information, this research that you're talking about like that? What the big companies are jumping?
But, you can basically go to one of those coins you like, see, oh, hey, let's see what this coin's all about. Click on it and scroll down, because then that's when you start reading about the project. And then you can see who the officers are of the company. Hey, who's the CEO? Who's this? Where did they come from? What other projects did they work on? Oh, hey, this guy's worked at Netflix, and this guy worked at Google, and this guy worked here. And it's like, oh, wow. What else did they, Well, what I like to do.
You get a base of reputable people involved and reputable companies involved in building one of these, then you've probably got a pretty good shot at making some money, because they're not gonna back a loser.
Right. And the other thing that's interesting is when you get into an industry. So, I mentioned that coin Engine, it's for the gaming. Well, there's other projects out there in that same industry. So you can actually, spread it out a little, like, hey, maybe you really believe this coin is the one. So you put a little bit more in there, but Microsoft's backing that one, but who's Sony backing? Maybe Sony's backing this other company. So I'm going to put a couple bucks over here as well. Because
diversify, just like you do a stock portfolio.
Right. And plus, I think there's still a lot of room for, now some of these coins may go to zero, but I still think there's a lot of room for, hey, maybe somebody's going to merge. Maybe somebody's going to,
Has that ever happened? A coin merges with another coin and
what they call it? Usually what happens is there might be a little disagreement where they want this project to go. So what they'll do is they call a fork. So that's how you see basically taking a piece of the block, taking the blockchain from where it is and going in a different direction. That's why on Coinbase, for example, you see Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin.
Exactly. Yeah, there's like 6 or 8 different Bitcoin.
Yeah, all these different Bitcoins. Same thing with I think Ethereum had Ethereum Classic, and there's the other Ethereum. But there's a lot of interesting projects out there, and even without the projects, I mean, you saw on Coinbase probably now you can do what they call staking. Right. So basically earning interest on your money there.
So does that have to do with the wallet? I keep getting these messages from Coinbase. Hey, you need to set up a wallet. And I haven't set up. I've got one on. I downloaded one, but I don't know what does the wallet do for you?
So basically you have Coinbase as your app, and there is we'll call it a wallet there for lack of better terms, but they actually
Just
have
another app.
right. Coinbase, let's see what it's called here. I think it's actually just called Coinbase Wallet.
Okay.
Let me
So
just,
you have that.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So this one is just called Coinbase Wallet. And that's just another place to move because a lot of folks don't completely believe that you should leave everything on your exchange, like on a Coinbase, because it might be more vulnerable.
Okay. So basically the wallet is a, like if you wanted to draw off some profit, you could throw it into the wallet and just hold it there.
Just hold it there. Or, and depending on your comfort level, you can even take it off chain in a sense, what they call cold storage. You can basically get a USB thumb drive, pop it in, download all your cryptocurrency onto that, maybe just leave 10% of it on the Coinbase because in case you want to trade some stuff or whatever. And then just put that in a safety deposit box or wherever you put your safe stuff.
Well, so let me ask you this. Now, there's the big question for me that it was a misconception, and I just want to dispel this myth, is that cryptocurrency can be used to buy goods. You can exchange it for cash.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's a big misconception. When I first heard about it, I thought, oh, well, you have to buy stuff from people that only take crypto, like on a website. Well, this website, you want to buy this, but they don't take crypto, so you can't use your crypto. So
yeah, I mean, just recently, a lot of those companies, PayPal is now, you can get crypto there. You can do Stripe. I just saw Visa and MasterCard have like completed crypto transactions. So
it's more mainstream every day.
Right. I mean, again, and depending on where you're at in the country, I'm not sure. I don't see a ton of it here. We're out in Pennsylvania, but you see it all the time when you look overseas, in Japan and Europe. I mean, they have Bitcoin ATMs basically. You go and put in $100 or whatever you're going to put in, and then you load up your crypto wallet with that amount. So it's just,
or vice versa. You can take your crypto, put it in there, and get cash.
Yeah, I mean, now again, there are a lot of people
basically cash.
Right. There's a lot of people in the crypto world that are, they're totally like anti-cash now, right? Because they feel the dollar is just going to be worthless.
So devalued. Yeah, it's pretty much worthless.
Right. I mean, especially, when you're talking trillions of dollars in bailout packages, it's like, that's kind of scary to a lot of people. So again, bringing this full circle back to the value, most of the people I talk to just feel a lot better holding this than they do something else. Because, the dollar's not backed by anything except the good faith of the government. And
that's not backed by gold anymore.
Not backed by gold. And, people will say, hey,
years ago,
we have assets and we have a military, and I get all that, but I just think Bitcoin's going to be, it's the top performing asset the last 10 years. I mean, it's blown the away.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
so a lot of these guys big hedge funds, and if you watch CNBC or any of the financial folks, for many years, those guys were talking trash about it. Oh, it's this, it's only used to buy drugs. It's bad. It's
all nefarious.
All the stuff. And in the background, what are they doing? They're trying to accumulate as much as they can.
They're the guys buying it up, telling you not to buy it. That's so they can buy more of it.
I think the biggest hedge fund managers have now come out and said, yeah, we own it. And it's basically because their customers are like, hey, listen, we're missing out. As a customer,
hey, why are you doing this? We want to know about it.
Right. You're telling me about a 20% return, but these people holding Bitcoin are getting a 2,000% return. I mean, what's going on? That you're supposed to.
Like when the Bitcoin took that huge run, just made millionaires out of 18-year-old guys that had money in it. You got a $10,000 investment in it. You got $1 million back in return when that thing went up like 4,000% or something.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's crazy, and that's just one of the coins, right? There's a whole bunch. Like I said, I'm not going to get into the altcoin piece, but that's a little bit,
bit too deep.
Yeah, and it's the stuff that you're holding now. I mean, like you mentioned, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think, and those, they're to me, they're almost like now blue chips in a sense. I mean, I know I use that loosely, but the altcoin stuff it's a lot faster, and it pumps and dumps a little bit more often, and a lot of people make a lot of money, but I don't want to sit in front of a computer every day looking at that kind of stuff. I want to be able to look at the projects. What are the problems in the world? Hey, counterfeiting is a big deal. There's coins out there who are trying to, how do we combat counterfeiting? So there's a lot of interesting projects.
We brought out. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say a lot of interesting projects. So, You can also, when you look at that coin market cap, there's a few I like to read through, and who's doing anything with the Department of Defense. We all know that's a huge customer, right? So,
big time.
And the government in general, right? So, I think about Medicare. That's a broken system. Maybe somebody's out there trying to fix that. So that's kind of the way I look at it. I mean, where are they going to get the bang for their buck, So,
a way more efficient way to move money around, really, or to move assets around, I guess, kind of.
And depending, again, whatever that blockchain is designed for, right? I mean, it could be medical records. It could be, because you can basically, everything data is just ones and zeros. It doesn't matter. So I think about medical records because, geez, I still got to call them on the phone and people have to fax things. I'm like, people still own a fax machine where I can just,
I do. Believe it or not.
I mean, it's hard to find, but when you go somewhere, I don't find too many people that have it. It's you got to use an app on your phone now to fax. I'm like, well, if I'm going to do that, then why don't I just send
e-fax?
Right. So there's a lot of interesting projects out there, and like I said, I usually like to stay in the top 100 and then really kind of move it up to the top 50, and kind of work in there and see. But again, I'll look and see that top.
Really, just to kind of summarize, Coinbase is really the place that you want to start. Get that set up. If you want to buy some crypto, guys, that's the place to do it. I think we covered just about everything, Steve. I can't think of anything. Can you, Megan, do you have anything to add about any of this?
I'm just going to say, Steve kind of danced around the whole topic, but really just do your research. Check all those websites, do your research. Ultimately, it's almost like the new world. Instead of stocks, it's the cryptocurrency and which one.
One thing I know, just from the inner circle, our interaction last night about real estate. Look where real estate's gone. The market is so high. If you didn't get into it before, it's too high to even think about buying now, especially with all the materials costs and everything that are just going to the moon. And so, maybe Bitcoin is a safer bet than even real estate right now, because the market is so, overblown.
And now with it, it's come back down. It's had a large correction. So for folks who were like, hey, when it was 60,000, they didn't want it. It was down to 36, 39,000, whatever it is. I'm like, hey, maybe now's the time you get in. And again, I think people have this misconception that you have to buy a whole Bitcoin. I mean, you could put in $1,000 and you're still getting Bitcoin. You're just not getting a full Bitcoin, but that's okay. So it's just like when you buy a stock.
You're still getting value,
Yep, absolutely. But to Megan's point, you can't, do your own research. There's a couple sites that CoinMarketCap is a good one, but also if you're looking for more of a regulatory type site, coincenter.org. They're kind of I kind of compare them to maybe like Consumer Reports or like a watchdog.
Good.
Crypto. So maybe some folks in your circle might be more interested in that, but they do a lot of work with we'll say the states and the Congress and things like that. So for, Mitch McConnell up there on the Hill doesn't know a thing about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, but he has the experts who do. So Coin Center kind of goes and briefs all those type of people. So it's definitely a good site.
That's a good resource, real good resource.
I'll make sure we add that in the description below. I mean, I've done a lot of research on their site. I think they're, pretty quality. So.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, man, this has been very enlightening, I'll say.
Cool.
And a good conversation. I don't know where we at. I think we can kind of wind it down. You guys, what do you think, Megan? We think we've covered it all? Is there anything that you can think of?
We haven't even scratched the surface, but.
I know. I mean, talking about
this purpose,
we'll have to put the duct tape around the head if we get too involved,
Yeah. No, I think this is perfect for your audience.
Good place to start, a good basis.
Absolutely. Because Coinbase is like the entry into everything. It's the easiest place to get involved. You buy the Bitcoin because I didn't even mention a bunch of other sites you can go to do trading, but what you have to do in a lot of those is send your Bitcoin there. So you're going to have to get Bitcoin somewhere, and Coinbase is one of the easiest ones to do it. So I think that's what I would leave you with, as far as your audience. Like, hey, if you want to start, that's little research.
And I guess we can say, hey, if you guys have questions, post it in the comments. And we'll try to answer your questions. We can do research or whatever and get answers to you. Put it in the comments. we'd like for you to subscribe and come back and see our other content. We're going to have some other interviews with some of the other Inner Circle members. I think Matt Kelly's coming on to do
love Matt.
kind of a self-defense type thing. I think that'll be fun. So anyway, we've got a lot of things coming up. We want y'all coming back. Steve and Megan, we really appreciate y'all coming.
Thanks for having us.
Helping us out. Kind of take the mystery out of cryptocurrency for sure.
A little bit, yep. Well, we're glad to be here, Russ. Anything we can do to help out.
I really appreciate it. Okay, guys, we're going to end this, and we'll catch you guys on the next video. Be sure to comment, share, like, subscribe, all the good stuff down there, and we'll see you on the next video. God bless.